get this onto YouTube once again. We'll be moving with the third part of this series on the Industrial Revolution for class 11th. Get this onto YouTube once again. We'll be moving with the third part of this. So great. I'm very happy that most of you can hear me, and we've just tested the video. Now I'm sharing and we move ahead. So till yesterday, I had explained to you about the Industrial Revolution, about the steam power that had come in. Now we're talking about the main inventions of steam. So how was steam used? Okay, the power that is in steam, how was it used? So the first person we have over here is Thomas Saveira. He was from 1615 to 1715. So he built a model steam engine called the Miner's Friend in 1698, and its purpose was to drain the water that entered into the coal mines. So in the coal mines, when you had water, to take that water out, they used steam, a steam engine, and it was called the Miner's Friend. Then came the second person. His name is Thomas New Common, and this was in 1663 to 1729. He built another steam engine. This had a defect of losing energy due to continuous cooling of the condensing cylinder, the cylinder which helps them, all right? So it had some problem. So let's forget about it. But remember, it's an important part in the invention. Now we come to James Watt in 1736 to 1818. Now he's important for us because you must understand the Industrial Revolution started from 1780. Always remember that. So 1780, so that means whatever he did, okay, fell in the period of the Industrial Revolution. He built a final and perfect steam engine, which was significant in converting steam from mere pumping, pumping and providing energy, but also generating machines in the factories. That means the factories could actually work on this steam, to move. So what will happen is, instead of using human labor, you can use steam labor to do the work. To move the machines. So the machines could move, Machines always move in two ways. One is with human energy. When you keep pumping it, that's also a machine. But then when it moves automatically through electricity, in those days we never had electricity, but through steam, the steam over there, it began to work. And I told you, steam became more powerful because they replaced steam with coal. Before this invention, the steam engine had been used only in coal mines. So up till now, steam engines were only being used in coal mines. Now they began to be used in machines, which means it gave more power to the Industrial Revolution. We could produce much more. Now, a very important person is James Watt. James Watt, he established the Soho foundry, and with the support of wealthy manufacturers, people started investing. Got it? Investment is very important. Matthew Boulton, from where his steam engines were produced. Got it? And he started producing steam engines he started manufacturing them, producing them, mass producing even steam engines, which helped again in the growth of the Industrial Revolution. All these factors, they helped in the growth of the Industrial Revolution. Now let us look at the construction of canals. So I told you that it was very, very important for them to use transportation. And transportation, they had many rivers, and the rivers would move into the sea so they could transform. Now, they wanted even more factories, got it? More industries. So if you wanted more industries, you needed to work out the transportation system. Transportation for number one, coal. So if coal was important, so then they started building canals. Initially, canals were built to transport coal to the cities. All right. That was the first purpose of construction of canals, was because so that you could actually transport coal over here. Now, transporting coal by road was expensive, slow. It was a difficult task because you understand moving through roads, there are curves, etc. Due to the bulk and the weight of coal, the first English canal, the Worsley Canal, was built in 1760. You need to understand this, underline it. All right. So this canal was built in 1761. That means around 19 years before the Industrial Revolution by James Brindley, and its completion decreased the value of coal by half. Fantastic. So the value of coal became half, suddenly 50% discount on coal. So naturally, people will start using coal more, it will become more affordable, and the production will turn even more as well as cheaper. Two things: since the work goes faster, the production goes faster, it becomes cheaper. Second thing is, again, because coal had value went by 50%, again the product was became cheaper. Next is, canals were used for transporting coal. So canals began to be used for transporting coal. Big businessmen built canals in order to increase the value of their mines, quarries, and forest. So now businessmen began to build canals. Why did they build canals? So that the value of their mine, quarries, and forest land increased. Naturally, if you have a house in the uh, next to a marketplace, or in the center where all commodities are available, the value of your house increases. In the same way, if your mine is well connected, people will buy it at a higher price. So thank you. I don't know why we went off for some time. I hope YouTube also stopped at that time, and it's working again. All right. So let me check on that. Great. I'm moving ahead. Thank you. My meeting is actually streaming live right now, which is absolutely okay. And I'm going to share once again, and then we move ahead. Sorry for any inconvenience caused. Okay. So then I told you it made emergence of a new market. New markets came up. New towns came up. For example, Birmingham owed its growth to the position of the heart of the canal system connecting London. All right. So this place called Birmingham, this city grew only because there were canals that connected it to London. The British Channel and Mersey and Humphrey rivers. So Birmingham became a very important city only because it was connected to London. It was connected to the British Channel, to Mersey, and to Humphrey rivers. So Humber rivers. So because it was well connected to everything, the city began to grow and it became fantastic. In the period known as the Canal mania means people were getting crazy. Everyone wanted to build a canal. From 1788 to 1796, the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, 1780. That means after 8 years of the Industrial Revolution, people just began to start canals. 46 projects for building, 25 new canals were begun. There were 46 projects, and within this span of almost 8 years, you had 25 new canals were constructed. There were 46 that began, 25 were constructed. Fantastic. Just in 8 years. The reason is because they understood the value of canals. Now we're talking about the invention of the railways. How did this? See, the invention of the railways also helped us a lot. The first locomotive, I told you about Stephenson, okay, George Stephenson's rocket was invented in 1814. This railway engine became as a new transport system. The first system was basically by road, it was basically carts, etc. But then the second system, then the cheapest system was basically the waterways. Now we started, the new transport system was railways, providing cheaper, faster movement of goods. Now this again started goods that moved cheaper and faster. The iron track replaced the wooden one. So first they had a wooden track. They changed the wooden track to an iron track. In 1780s, historians argue that the invention of the railway took the industrialization to the second stage. So this is once railway started, the industrial revolutions went to the second stage. So I told you the first stage was till 1850, and the industry, when the railway started properly, got it, not with wooden ways, etc., but the railway started actually moving on the iron, got it, on the iron tracks. It started fantastic. It took the industrial revolution to a higher place. We had this person known as Richard Trevithick. He devised an engine called the Puffing Devil in 1801, which pulled, pulled the trucks around the mine. This was basically working only in the mines. But in 1814, George Stephenson constructed a locomotive. Okay, I told you about George Stephenson. Okay, we get back to him, the same George Stephenson I was talking about over here. Got it? He constructed the locomotive called the Blucher, okay, which was capable of pulling a weight of 30 tons. Okay, so your truck is just 2 tons and 4 tons, but this was able to take 30 tons at 4 miles per hour. In those days, 4 miles per hour was fantastic. It was really good. So that's because of these, what happened is our railways helped and contributed in taking goods faster. And because this contributed in taking goods faster, again, things became cheaper. I'm going to go at the human element at the end. Okay, so you wait for that. It's becoming very interesting. So we understand connectivity. We understand that people started taking away the land of the poor people. The poor people gathered in towns. They wanted jobs. When they wanted jobs, now you started industries which had enough labor, etc. All these things, and then you had the canals, and now you've got the railways. Then you had coal. So all these things contributed to make the industrial revolution stronger. All these developments paved the way for the development of the transport. Now you had so many things. It made railway transportation faster and stronger. The first railway line was constructed. Important. The first railway line was constructed. Is it up? 1 mark question at least. And those of you who are even planning for competition examinations, it's a very important general knowledge question. Stockton and Darlington in 1825, and the next railway connected Liverpool and Manchester in 1830. So 5 years later, 1830. First one was Stockton to Darlington, and the second one from Liverpool to Manchester. Right? This is the same name that you've been hearing repeatedly. The Manchester was very famous for its cotton. Got it? So Cotton would usually go to Manchester, where it would become, Indian cotton would go to Manchester, from where you would make textiles out of it and then sell it back to India. You remember that. That will come later on. Never mind. I just diverted a little. So that's no issue. Let's work ahead. The little railway mania. Now, I told you about the canal mania. Now came the railway mania. That means people started, there was massive construction of railway lines. The little railway mania from 1833 to 37, 1400 miles of line was built during the bigger mania of 1844 to 49. 9,500 miles of line was sanctioned. So you can understand, first 1400 miles that was built, and then the second mania was from 1844 to 1845. Remember, the first industrial revolution ended at 1850. Keep this in mind, okay? When you keep this in mind, 1780 to 1850, you will always be able to understand how these things contributed to the industrial revolution. All right? So now let's understand the most important part. Always remember, life has the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we are going to actually find out the good, bad, and ugly. Everything is humans, okay? Whenever you're learning anything, always remember what impact it had on human life. And it's always people who can move ahead in life. The ability to move ahead in life, the minute you get stuck, you think this is not possible for me, that's the time when problems set in. Now, during the Industrial Revolution, there was a lot of changes in the lives of people. Simple. A lot of changes in the life of people. Intelligent, talented got opportunities naturally. Even today, the intelligent and the talented will get opportunities. Rich people invested their money during the period with the hope of getting more profit and multiplying their money. You see, sometimes we think money is important. The rich people can only invest when you have talented and intelligent people. The rich people cannot invest if you don't have talented and intelligent people. So remember, talent and intelligence is sometimes more than money. So if you only think that money is going to help you, no. The rich, the intelligent and the talented, you see, money will always be produced. Money is always going to be produced, all right? From the time of hunters, somebody hunts and he's got more food, he's hunted more food than he requires. In the same way, some people will have more than they require. That is called the rich. Got it? And the more that they have, they need to give it, invest it to persons who are talented and intelligent. All right? So never blame anything on a system when you find that sometimes it's you also. If you can't gather money, gather talent. Where's the issue? Okay? Chalo, God bless you all. Right. Now we're talking about wealthy incomes and productive efficiency. So wealth, incomes, productive efficiency, that means the ability to produce increased. So earlier people were making just a few goods. It was taking a lot of time. Now machines became better. Machines became more efficient. Machines were running on coal. Machines were running on steam power. Transporting them was easier. You could use canals. You could use the railway. It was becoming cheap. It also affected people negatively. Yes, this is the problem. We all can't move together. This is the problem of human life. It affected people negatively. That could be seen in broken families. When you become rich, families begin to break. Break means marriages breaking, homeless children, divorces, all kinds of things. New addresses, people had left their roots. Okay, they loved their city, but they had gone over somewhere else. They remained in degraded cities. The cities were totally useless, got pathetic working conditions. The working conditions were very bad, because you must understand, the machines were not the kind of machines we have today. The machines would use so much of oil and all kinds of things. So working on those machines was really pathetic. It was difficult, and people worked on it. The reason is, it was something new and they were working on it. They didn't have an option. Why? Their land was taken away from them. The rich people had taken away the land from them. Things happen. The number of cities in England with a population of 50,000 grew from 2 in 1752 to 29 in 1850. So in England, the population of 50,000. So if you had one city with a population of 50,000, sorry, two cities with a population of 50,000 in 1750, by 1850 you had 29 cities. This was the impact of the Industrial Revolution. 50,000 is a huge number. So 50,000 people, if they were in two cities only in 1750, remember that the actual revolution started in 1780. By 1850, that is just in 70 years, 29 cities began. You had 29 cities with a population of 50,000. This means all 29 cities were a part of the Industrial Revolution. So there was two cities which went to 29. The growth of cities did not bring adequate number of houses, sanitation and clean water. Why? Because ultimately the cities was made out of laborers. People who are working without the desire to work. Reason is, it was tough. They were not in the upper, they were all laborers. And naturally, the rich want to go richer. The first thing they'll do is exploit labor. So naturally, labor was exploited. They were not given proper houses, no sanitation, no clean water, nothing. Newcomers were forced to live in crowded slums. Slums grew up. So at one time, one place you find that the Industrial Revolution brought in something great, a lot of prosperity. But for who? For the rich, for the intelligent, for the talented. But the rest of the people, which is very small. You see, the rest of the people, which is a huge number, they lived in crowded cities, got its crowded slums near the factory. Okay, now I'll explain to you one thing. Let me remove this, then I'll explain to you immediately over here. The rich people shifted to suburb areas. Suburb areas means outside. They got clean air and water, and that's where they got the clean air and the water. Now I'll explain to you. So if this was the city, now why be such a? Okay, now let me talk about this being the city. If this was your city, these were the factories. The factories were always in the heart of the city. That's how the city grew. So when the workers came, the workers would stay over here, and over here, which became extremely crowded. This entire area became extremely crowded. The rich people would live in the periphery, the suburbs. That is where they got clean water, everything over here. All right, today, of course, it's the opposite. Today, it's the opposite, all right? We have all the rich people living in the heart, and those that go on to the suburbs are those who go for cheaper houses, right? See, when you're learning history, this is very important, that you learn to understand how things changed. Because ultimately, first came the factory, then came the people, and the people settled over here. All right, because there was no restriction, there was no planning of cities. So that's how it began. And this became horrible. Great. Now we go to the next part. is the condition of the workers. This word workers is really a dangerous and sad thing. The people who work. According to a survey in 1842, see, the survey was done in 1842, just 8 years before the end of the revolution. Life expectancy of workers was compared to non-workers in the city. Workers and non-workers, the life expectancy, that means how long they will live, the life expectancy in Birmingham was 15 years, in Manchester 17, and in Derby 21 years. Sad. People were dying so young. Why? Because of the smell of the soot. You know what is soot? The smell of the smoke that comes out of the coke. The hard work, bad conditions. It affected their health. They were dying. Many people died at a young age. Children lived only up to 5 in the new industrial cities. The cities were so filled with smog, with soot, that they died at the age of 5. And life expectancy was just 15, 17, and 21. So if we ask you Birmingham, you say 15, Manchester 17, Derby 21 years. They paid a price. We always talk about the price of freedom, the price of this. Do you know, for the machines we use, somebody paid a price. The ordinary worker paid a price. The person we've never saluted, the person we've never said thing about, they paid a price. In India also, there are certain cities where till today, children are paying a price for the things that you enjoy. You have great toys that are being made in environments that are definitely bad. The government is trying to help us by seeing that people get a clean environment, but it's difficult. It's difficult. Let's move ahead. Even Delhi, you can well imagine the condition of Delhi. But this all happens because finances always overrule everything else. Many people died at the young age. Population in the cities increased not due to newborn babies, but due to immigrants from villages. People kept coming from the villages, the population grew. It never grew because of the increase in newborn babies. No, 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 no. It was not because of reproduction, but it was more because of immigrants from the village that we had. So these are very vital points. You need to write them down. You need to understand them and talk about them. So we're still talking about the condition of the workers. When you're talking about the condition of the workers, we need to understand this. All right. And apart from that, when we're talking about the condition of the workers, we also talk about the deaths were caused. See, when conditions are bad, there will be deaths there will be diseases. Got it? Diseases always come in wherever there is filth and dirt. There was cholera, there was typhoid. In 1832, more than 31,000 people died because of cholera. Cholera is caused by bad water. In the 19th century, the municipal authorities did not pay attention to solve the suffering of the people. And in this century, people were not bothered about the municipal authorities, were not bothered about people. Why? Because the people were laborers, ordinary. Very important for a nation to have educated people, so that educated people understand the rights. If they don't understand the rights, if you do not understand your rights, we'll all collapse. Nobody is going to give us. The milk of human kindness is not easily found. People don't just have pity on others. People don't have mercy upon others just for nothing. It's difficult. All right. So you can see over there in the 19th century, the municipal authorities did not pay problems to the suffering of the people. Medical knowledge in understanding and curing the diseases was unknown. So those of you, I'm teaching mostly kids who are going to expire about. So kids who are thinking about becoming IS and PCS officers and everything. Maybe You have a bridge that has to be constructed. It could be constructed in 6 months, but you not bothered about it and let it lie there for 8 years. Many of you will become district magistrates and something great, and you'll see the filth around you, but you're not bothered because there's nobody important living in that I won't call it a slum, but in that colony. We just seem to not bother about it, just because people don't have strength or people cannot voice their opinion. This is happening. All right. So it is your duty for anyone, any job, to take care of people. Don't just blame the municipal authorities of the 19th century in England. Start blaming yourself also. All right. Because it's not long, 10 years will just pass, and you'll get a job, and you'll be driving in fancy cars with lots of people saluting you. That's not what you got your job for. You got your job to take care of the city, to take care of the people. Try to do it. All right. God bless you, and always remember, it would be a waste of me teaching children who do not know how to do their duty. Right? Your duty was never to earn money. All right. Always remember that. God bless you all so much. I'm going to the condition of women and children. Okay. The Industrial Revolution, the condition of women and children. I told you the condition of laborers. Look at the condition of women and children. The Industrial Revolution brought about important changes in the way women and children worked. Before the revolution, children and women worked in farms or at home. They worked under the watchful eyes of their parents and relatives. Women in villages worked in the farm. They reared livestock, that means cows, goats, etc. Animals, gathered firewood, did spinning cotton, everything was their own. They had the own environment. They were living in their own environment. Their job did not displace them from their own domestic environment. That means the place they're living in. It was necessary for women to work and support the meager earnings. Gathered firewood, involved in spinning cotton. That was before the Industrial Revolution. Now it was necessary for women and children to work, support the meager earnings of men. Isn't it surprising that if a man works as a laborer, he just cannot support his family? So a woman working along with a man is okay, but even children have to work. Always remember, in any nation, you are the decision makers. You should see that a man gets at least that amount of money that he can support his children. Even if his wife, if both of them are working, they should be able to support their children. That is the amount of money you should get. That's how it should be calculated. But here, in this revolution, nobody is bothered. Got it? Now, the Industrial Revolution preferred women and children who did not oppose poor working conditions, because the women and children would work anywhere. They did not have any rights. They work on wages that were lower than men and did more work than men. Women and children, basically, that the man was not bothered. How it would affect the health of the woman, how it would affect the health of the child. The women were employed in cotton textile industries, silk making, knitting industries. The women were employed there, while the children were working in metal industry, coal mines, cotton textile industries. Very difficult situation. So women and children often worked long hours in inhumane working conditions. That is why they were dying. And life expectancy was 15, 17. How sad. The government took some time to decide the working children and women should be protected by law. And then it did take time. Thank God there was some people who had a conscience, and they said, no, we need to have laws to protect them. If there were no laws, what would happen? Why do you need laws? You need laws because people will not learn to behave themselves. And this is usually people who are earning much more than they should earn. That's the ones who are giving you a job, right? So, unless there was a law, I do understand there are always two sides of a coin. A number of laws were passed by the government to improve the working condition of children and women, and then laws were passed. In 1819, laws were enacted prohibiting the employ of children under 9. That means if you're 10 years old, if you were 10 years old, you had to work. Got it? Sorry, you could legally work. And you know the meaning of the word legally work. There will be children who will work at 7, 6. Can you imagine? Children today at 9 are in the third standard. So those children were legally, correct, sorry, 10-year-old child could legally work. Working hours for those who had been between 9 and 16 was reduced from 16 to 12 hours. Earlier, they used to work for 16 hours, now 12 hours. And some of you who study for 4 hours get tired, and that too in the 11th and 12th standard. Students of history, if you really want to become real historians, really want to do something for this nation, understand. They worked for 16 hours when they were 10 years old. Of course, later on it got reduced to 12. I don't know how many of you are studying for just 5 hours a day. Great. I think once we become sufficient, we become more and more lazy. We become more and more lazy. So I'm not asking you, I'm not telling you that don't rest, but don't rest too much. Okay? In 1833, a law was enacted that permitted children under 9 to work only in silk factories. Then in 1833, they said they can only work in silk factories, limited working hours. It was also enabled the appointment of many factory inspectors who ensured that the rules prescribed in the law were followed strictly. Please understand that there were inspectors who would see that the law was followed strictly. Always remember, corruption is also something that is available. Okay, so everything that was done did not immediately start, it takes time. In 1847, the 10-hour bill was passed making working hours, got it? The 10-hour bill was passed making 10 hours for women and young people. These laws applied only to textile industries and not to mines. So in mines, up till now, they were working for 12 hours and 16 hours, but it was reduced to 10 hours for women. In the Mines Commission of 1842 was set to look into the working condition in mines. It revealed the workers had worsened. The condition in the mines had turned even bad. Although many laws were enacted, the Mines and Colliers Act in 1842 prohibited children and women from working in coal mines. And they said children and women cannot work in the coal mines. Again, in 1847, declared that children under 18 should not work for more than 10 hours a day. Great. So the Fielders Factory. Now you need to learn up all the commissions, the acts. Got it? The Miners Commission of 1842, the Miners and Colliers Act of 1842. Okay, so there's a Miners Commission, and there's a Miners and Colliers Act, and then there's a Fielders Factory Act in 1847. You need to understand all of them, do them. These are you can get 2 marks for each one of them, or even 4 marks if you write a little more. They may ask you for a little to elaborate a little more, but definitely this is very interesting for you to learn it and write it down and learn them up properly. Please understand what are the important parts, and it's a very, very interesting. It's definitely a very interesting chapter, and I'm sure that if you put your heart to it, you'll be able to enjoy this chapter a lot more. God bless you all and have a wonderful